A black shape sits in your sink. At first it looks like nothing, just a smudge near the drain. Then it moves. Slow at first, testing the surface like it doesn't trust the world it just entered. Its body catches the light, flat, dark, almost oily in appearance. You lean in, and something in your brain says, "Don't touch it." Most people don't wait for confirmation. They reach for soap, a sponge, maybe even a paper towel, anything to erase it fast. But that tiny moment of hesitation, that's where the story begins. Because what you're looking at isn't just a random bug in your sink. It's part of a hidden system that runs right under your home, in pipes, walls, and drains you never think about. And it's been living there long before you saw it. That shape is usually what people call a water bug, though the name covers more than one creature. In most homes, it's a cockroach drawn to moisture. In some regions, it can even be a true aquatic insect that ended up indoors by mistake. Either way, the behavior tells the same story. It came for water, and your sink became the center of its world for a few minutes. Sinks are perfect landing zones. Smooth surface, constant moisture. Food residue invisible to you but rich to an insect. A water droplet on the edge of the basin is a feast in its language. And once it arrives, it doesn't panic the way you do. It maps. Every edge, every curve, every drop of condensation. That slow movement you see isn't confusion. It's calculation. To understand why it behaves like this, you have to see where it comes from. Water bugs and roach species spend most of their lives hidden. Inside wall voids, behind dishwashers, under floors near leaking pipes, anywhere dark and damp. They move through a home like a network, not individuals. If one reaches your sink, others are likely somewhere nearby, following the same invisible trails of humidity and scent. Their life cycle is built for survival in these conditions. It starts as an egg case, often tucked into cracks you would never notice. One case can hold dozens of young. When they hatch, they don't look like the adult you imagine. They're smaller, paler, faster versions of it. No wings, no hesitation. They grow through stages, shedding their outer shell several times. Each stage brings them closer to the familiar dark shape you see at night near sinks or drains. Warmth speeds everything up. Moisture pushes it further. A leaking pipe under a cabinet becomes a breeding advantage. That's why kitchens and bathrooms matter so much in their world. Not because of food alone, but because of water. Water is survival. Watch one closely, and you'll notice something strange. It rarely moves in straight lines. It pauses often. Antennae sweep the air constantly, tasting chemicals you can't perceive. It reads your environment through vibration and scent, not sight. A shadow from your hand changes everything. A shift in air pressure can send it darting, but when it feels safe, it returns to stillness. That stillness is easy to misread. It looks frozen. It's not. It's listening. Even the sink itself becomes a temporary arena. The smooth porcelain walls turn into cliffs. Once it climbs the side and slips, it falls back into the basin like a loop it has experienced before. And still, it tries again. That persistence is part of why these insects have survived millions of years. There's something people rarely expect to hear about water bugs. They play a role in the environment that most humans never see. In hidden spaces, they break down organic matter, crumbs, grease, decaying material that collects in drains and cracks. In nature, their relatives help recycle nutrients back into soil and water systems. Indoors, that same behavior becomes inconvenient. But in the larger picture, it's the same biological job. Cleanup in places that don't get attention. They also become food for other creatures, spiders, small lizards in warmer climates, even certain birds if they get outside. Nothing in their ecosystem goes unused, even the ones that end up in your sink. Now picture what happens when you open the cabinet under that sink or slam something down near it. The reaction is instant. That calm, scanning creature transforms into speed, not random panic, but a direct escape line. It reads vibration through its legs and chooses the fastest route away from it. Sometimes it runs up. Sometimes it drops down into the drain opening. Sometimes it vanishes so quickly your eyes don't register where it went. That disappearance isn't magic. It's design. Flat bodies, flexible joints, hard outer shells that protect against impact. Antennae that never stop gathering information even while it runs. Disturb it too aggressively, and it releases a faint chemical signal to others nearby. Not an attack, but a warning. A message that says, danger exists here. Within hours, activity in that area shifts. They avoid it. What matters more is what people do in that moment. A sink encounter often leads to panic cleaning. Sprays, bleach, boiling water, strong chemicals poured directly into drains. Some of that removes visible insects, but it doesn't solve the system behind them. If moisture remains, they return. If food particles remain in drains, they return. If small leaks exist under cabinets, they return. The sink becomes less of a surface problem and more of a habitat indicator. There's a different way to read that black shape. Instead of treating it like a random intruder, treat it like a signal. It tells you something about your home that you don't normally see. Moisture levels in hidden spaces, drain cleanliness, tiny gaps in seals under counters, even changes in seasonal humidity that push insects indoors. When water bugs appear in sinks, they're often the visible edge of a larger pattern. Practical steps start simple. Dry the sink completely before bed. Not just a quick wipe, but removing standing moisture around the drain edge. Check under the sink for leaks or damp wood. Even a slow drip creates long-term attraction. Clean drain openings with hot water and mild detergent to remove buildup that collects over time. Seal gaps where pipes enter the wall. Those small spaces act like highways between hidden spaces and open ones. And reduce overnight food exposure. Even invisible residue matters more than visible crumbs. These changes don't just remove insects. They remove the conditions that draw them in. If you ever see one again, the response changes everything. No sudden movement, no panic. Watch it for a moment if you can. You'll notice patterns, antennae sweeping, body adjusting to humidity, pauses that look like thought but are sensory processing. Then, decide your next step calmly. Remove access to water. Clean the area. Guide it away without forcing a messy reaction that spreads it deeper into your space. Most of the time, they leave on their own once the environment shifts. They aren't looking for confrontation, only survival. There's something almost unsettling about how ordinary the encounter becomes once you understand it. A black shape in a sink stops being a surprise monster moment. It becomes a reminder that your home is part of a larger ecosystem, one that extends into pipes, soil, walls, and every damp corner you never think about. You share space with things that don't announce themselves. They move through the edges of your life, not the center. And sometimes, one of them pauses long enough for you to notice. So the next time you see that shape sitting in the basin, don't rush it into panic. Look at what it's telling you. Something nearby is wet when it shouldn't be. Something is open that should be sealed. Something small has created a path. Fix that, and the visitor stops being a visitor. It becomes just another passing moment in a house that finally feels a little more under control. And if you've ever seen one in your sink, there's a good chance you already know that feeling. The strange mix of discomfort and curiosity that lingers after it disappears down the drain or back into the dark. That moment stays with you a little longer than the bug itself. And maybe that's the real story.